Hi, my name is Francois and I am a super teacher. Exams are here and with it comes a truckload of stress. Students stress during exams. All of us can remember the time when we wrote our own exams and how stressful the whole situation is. So in the past week, I had a few students asking me, "Sir, how can we deal with our exam stress?" So I thought this would make a great episode. So this week's episode, how to deal with exam stress. Let's educate. We all need a little bit of stress in our lives. After all, when you stress about something, it drives you to perform. But too much can be detrimental to your performance. Let's use a graph to illustrate what stress can do for performance. So over here on the y-axis, we have level of performance, while on the x-axis, we have amount of stress. What would the graph look like? Something like that. You see on the one side that you've got little amounts of stress, but also that your performance is quite low. Because when you don't care about something, you don't put the effort into it, then maybe you don't achieve as well as you should. But as the level of stress increases, your performance increases with it. But there is a critical point around here where the performance starts dipping because you're stressing too much. And this happens to many people. We stress so much about the exam that it influences our performance. So in order to get ourselves to the optimal level of performance, we need to know how to reduce our stress. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to share a few of the tips that works for me when I experience a lot of stress or anxiety. My approach to writing exams is a lot like somebody preparing to run a marathon. Because think about it, writing an exam is a marathon. You have to be mentally but also physically prepared to write exams for 2 to 3 or maybe 4 weeks on end. And this places a lot of strain on your mind and on your body. So what do marathon athletes do? They don't start preparing for the marathon a week in advance. They know when the marathon's due date is, so they prepare well in advance. When you enter the academic year, you know it's going to be closed off by writing an exam. So already at the start of the year, you need to know that every single class I attend every single day is in preparation for the final exam. So treat every day as if it is a preparation day. Don't let any classes go to waste. Attend everything. When it comes to writing exams, you need to know your strengths as well as your weaknesses. Know what it is that makes you stress. Maybe take a piece of paper and write down the things that you are afraid of during the exam. Because when you know what those trigger moments are or when the feelings of anxiety is coming, you would also know how to deal with it. But do the same for your strengths. Know exactly where you get your energy from, so that when you feel anxious, you can counterattack it by doing something that you like or that you know you are good at. Because that just builds confidence, and confidence is key when writing an exam. There is a big tendency to change your lifestyle during exam times. For some reason, we approach exam time differently than we approach the rest of the year. And this puts a lot of stress on your body. Inherently, your routine will change because now suddenly you're at home studying and you're preparing to write an exam paper, where previously you sat in lectures or in classes absorbing information. But you do not need extra stress by changing your lifestyle. So what do I mean by keeping a balanced lifestyle? First of all, get enough sleep. It will be detrimental if you spend an entire night staying awake to study. That could just impede your ability to remember facts. It's also extremely important to have a balanced diet. Eat healthy foods. Don't just change your routine because you think I don't have enough time, so I could quickly just go and buy some takeaways. Ensure that you eat enough fruit, vegetables, balanced portions of meat and starch, but also drink enough water. When your brain is hydrated, you tend to remember things better. Stick to an exercise schedule. Don't suddenly start exercising more than you did before the exam, but stick to a regular exercise schedule. But also have time to relax. I don't know what is the deal with not socializing during exam times. All of this contributes to putting more shock on your system. Remember that during exams, as in life, moderation is key. When you do sit down to study, ensure that it is for short sessions. Don't go into these 3 or 4 hour study sessions and think you are going to recall everything. It is important to chop down your study sessions. Keep it to half an hour or 45 minutes max, and then take 15 or 20 minutes break. But don't fall for the trap that you say, I'm going to study for 45 minutes, and then when you break, you're going to break for another 45 minutes. And eventually you start watching TV or you start binge watching YouTube videos, and the next thing you know it, an hour and a half or 2 hours has passed. Stick to your schedule. It's also important to set realistic goals. Know what it is that you want to achieve before writing the exam, but it has to be realistic. If you have continuously achieved 50% for a subject during the year, don't suddenly expect that you are going to get 90 or 95%. Set realistic goals. When you set ambitious goals and you do not achieve that, you could easily be demotivated. And that could have a snowball effect on the rest of your exams. Confidence is extremely important when writing an exam. So ensure you do the things that boost your confidence. Now for a few tips for when you are writing an individual exam paper. First of all, be on time. You do not need that extra stress for realizing that you could be late for an exam. And then when you arrive late, you have that extra pressure of not having enough time to complete the paper. This is detrimental. So ensure that you arrive half an hour early for the exam paper. Ensure that you make provision for every little mishap that could make you late for an exam. Many people make the mistake of cramming in those final little few facts just before you go into the exam hall. This just adds more anxiety to an already stressful environment. Rather, half an hour before you write the test, stop thinking about the actual material. Nothing that you try and study within that half an hour before the test is suddenly going to make you comprehend the concept better than you did before. Just leave it alone. It'll come back to you during the exam. Realize that other people's stress is not your stress. How many times has it happened to you when standing outside of the exam hall, waiting for the exam to start, everybody starts talking about the content? And then you realize, oh, I didn't study that, or I forgot about that. That would just add to your stress. Rather, before the exam, chat about anything else than that specific exam. Whilst writing the exam paper, time management is extremely important. So typically what I would do is look at the time allocation as well as the mark allocation and ensure that I write enough during that minute to allow for a correct number of marks. In this way, you pace yourself and you ensure that you will finish on time. Maybe you even leave enough time at the end to revise some of your answers. It has also happened to everybody that while you're writing an exam question paper, you hit a blank. For some reason, you just cannot recall anything that you have studied. The big thing to remember is do not linger on that one question. Move on swiftly, go and attempt another question. Because whilst you are busy with that question, you might start recalling the things you needed to know for the previous question. But do not waste time on thinking and trying to break through that blank. And then finally, some tips for after you have written an exam paper. This is probably the part that gets neglected the most, because we want to finish the exam paper and then just get on with our life. But what you need to do is do a proper debrief if you have the time. Reflect with your friends or with your study partners after the exam, just to share each other's experiences. Because in this way, you actually calm some of the previous nerves or any of the expectations that you would have about the paper. What people typically do is they start comparing answers. And then you start freaking out when you realize that you have given an answer that is different to the majority of your friends. That's okay. There's no need to stress about it, because who says they are right? But also, there's nothing you can do about it. You have submitted the exam and there is nothing you can do about it. So forget about it and move on. You definitely do not want to take the anxiety from the previous exam into your next one, especially when you are writing 2 exam papers on the same day. This can create a lot of stress. So in the time allocated between the 2 exam papers, relax. Ensure that you eat a healthy meal and that you are ready for the new challenge. That's it. Those are just some of the tips that I would share with students when they ask me what can they do to reduce their exam stress. Let's make that the question of the week. What do you do to decrease stress in your life? Maybe share stories from your past, that when you were at school writing exams, or just generally in life, what do you do to reduce your stress? So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you give it a thumbs up, but that you also subscribe to this channel so that we can get all super teachers to unite under one banner, so we can make a positive difference in each and every classroom. Make sure that you also check out some of our previous episodes, like this one and this one. Until next time, good luck with your exams. I am Francois and I am a super teacher.